good? Welcome to the Post Op Podcast presented by Malleyway. It's your boy Malik. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so we had a good weekend of basketball. This Saturday, Sunday. I think on Saturday we had the Celtics playing the Houston Rockets. That was a big game. We had Paul Pierce in the building with Kendrick Perkins. This game was on ESPN. It was a big game. It's a potential finals preview. I mean, the Celtics, to me, they got one of the greatest home court advantage. Their fans are a little crazy. Sometimes they push the boundaries, but they're there for their team. And the Celtics, Jason Tatum's been ascending. Everybody's been talking about him, getting to the superstar point now. Obviously, he's been killing it, against the Lakers. LeBron gave him mad respect. Jason Tatum's a guy, I have him on my fantasy team. He's a guy that I've always liked. He's a wing. He's pretty much what direction the NBA is going towards now. He's a wing. I believe he's about 6'7", 6'8" in height. He got handles. He can shoot. He had a lot of one-on-one training with Kobe Bryant. All he really needed is the confidence. The keys to the team. And I think he's realizing that he's one of the best players on the team now. And he's ascending. So the game against the Rockets was, he didn't start off too well. But it was an exciting game, came down to the last shot. Jason Tatum purposely missed the free throw, passed it to Jaylen Brown, who's another ascending player. He hit the three, they tied it. But at the end of the day, Houston Rockets, they showed their, their veteran tricks, for lack of better words. Russell Westbrook had 41 points, and he pretty much took over in overtime, and beat the Celtics. But it was a great experience for them. The Raptors are going to have a tough time with the Celtics if we do face them in the playoffs. So I can't wait to see that. Obviously, the Raptors, game 60 of the season. Raptors played on this Sunday evening. The Raptors were in Denver, the Mile City. High altitude, so everybody always knows that it's tough to play in Denver, especially if you're not from there, if you're not used to the thin air. You get tired pretty quickly. And the Raptors are down a couple bodies too. We don't have Ibaka, we don't have Gasol, we don't have Van Fleet. So it's a small rotation, and they got to make sure they come in nice. But before I actually get to the Raptors, shout out to this guy that I just, learned about. Shake Milton. I don't know if you guys saw earlier, the Clippers were playing the Philadelphia 76ers. And the Sixers, obviously, they had some bad news. Joel Embiid was out for, maybe about 1 to 2 weeks. Their other star player, Ben Simmons, he's out indefinitely. So basically, the Sixers are down, both of their all-star players. And they had to find ways to kind of compensate, right? We know they have Tobias Harris, but this guy, apparently this phenom, Shake Milton, I don't know if he was on a roster early in the year, but apparently he's been killing it in the G League, and he filled in. Yet, my boy had like about 35 points against the Clippers. I was shocked. I didn't really know who that boy was, but that's what happens when you give guys opportunities. It's the it's the Raptors model. That's how you go. You go through your farm system. Try to build up some of the younger guys, and it's next man up when somebody goes down and when they're out there showing showcasing their skills. Sometimes you'll find a diamond in the middle of the rough. So Malik Shake Milton, shout outs to this guy. He came through, dropped 35 points on a big game versus the Clippers. And, let's see what happens with that. A lot of times, when you're an unknown player, there's no real scouting report, right? So guys aren't really preparing for you. So we'll see if you can maintain that level of consistency. But, back to the today's game for the Toronto Raptors. So the Toronto Raptors were in Denver. Unfortunately, they lost. The Toronto Raptors lost 133 to 118 in a game that I don't think they ever led. It was pretty close. At some point, they cut it to within 5 points a bunch of different times. But the Raptors, they didn't really have it offensively, and that's what pretty much killed it for them. But let's talk about what happened in this game. So first of all, our boy, Jamal Murray out of Kitchener, Ontario. Jamal Murray plays for the Denver Nuggets, and he's approaching a high level of play. Everybody was kind of like on him last year for his level of inconsistency, but he's a scorer. He plays the point guard position, so I guess what he needed to improve on was his playmaking. So this year he's showing that he can play make, but he's also playing with Nikola Jokic, the Joker, and the Joker, he racks up a lot of assists. So I can understand why it's tough for Jamal Murray to kind of play make when you have another great playmaker, even though he's a center. But he showed out. He showed out. At some point, he was 5 for 5 from three. I think in the first maybe 8 minutes of the game, Jamal Murray was just raining threes on the Raptors. And as much as I hated to see that, I'm proud proud to see Jamal Murray do that, because obviously he's Canadian. He committed to play on the Canadian Olympic team, so hopefully we could see him do that for us. But Jamal Murray was just killing us in the beginning and throughout the game. Raining threes, playmaking, pick and rolling with Jokic, and then finding the open man. Gary Harris hit us with a couple threes. There was another guy, Craig. I don't really know him, but apparently he shoots about 30% from three normally. But he's been raining. He was making his open shots. So the Denver Nuggets, they pretty much killed us on the three tonight. If we look at their pretty much their stats, Jamal Murray was 6 for 10 from three, 60%. That's great, excellent. Gary Harris was 3 from three. Jeremy Grant, that was a surprise, 2 for 4. He's a guy that you typically want to shoot threes, but he was making them, right? And they even had Michael Porter Jr., the high school phenom who got drafted by Denver. He obviously had a severe back issue or severe back surgery. He probably, he fell. He did fall in the draft because of that issue. So Denver was the right team for him, I guess, because they didn't really need him right away. So they pretty much drafted somebody with a high potential and stashed him for a year, helped him rehab. So he showed up. Played 19 minutes, 4 for 8, 50% from the field. So I haven't seen much of Michael Porter Jr., but I want to see what this guy could do. But on the Toronto side, the big story, everybody was complaining about, obviously, how Pascal Siakam played. So clearly Pascal Siakam struggled. He played 39 minutes. He had 16 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. But if you look at his percentages, he shot terribly. He shot 6 for 21. That's 28%, and 1 for 7 from three. So Siakam, I think he's just going through he's going through a phase where teams are kind of figuring out his game. His moves are being I guess pointed out in the scouting reports. And like I said, if you're a basketball fan, if you watch a lot of basketball, me personally, I know that Siakam, in terms of shooting, pure shooting, he's not there yet. He's not a consistent threat. And I think teams are figuring out that if you put a physical, power forward or physical center on Siakam, and somebody who can keep up with his speed, all you got to do is give him some space. Because what I noticed was that Siakam starts off the game, every time he's open from three, he'll just take it. So he starts the game a lot by taking a lot of threes, 3-4 threes in the first quarter. And that's not something I want to see from Siakam, because, he's improving on his corner threes, but, he's still not there in terms of shooting from the perimeter. So when he takes these threes, a lot of times they're bricks, and then, that starts off the game bad, and then, it shakes his confidence. And then, when that happens, when he starts bad, he starts, forcing his shots. Obviously, everybody's on Siakam because he signed a new deal. Next year he's going to get that huge raise. Everybody expected him to, to fill in the scoring, obviously, since Kawhi left. Everybody expects Siakam to be the number one option, the superstar on the team. But the fact of the matter is, Siakam last year was most improved player. So if you think about it, if you're a most improved player, it means that the year before, you were probably not a big contributor on the team. So he made a huge leap, which is great, but we can't expect him to, make another huge leap. Obviously, it would be great. It would be a great story. He made the All-Star team, but if you think about it, Siakam wasn't, he wasn't highly touted out of high school or, out of college. Obviously he was drafted, late first round. I think he was the 27th pick. So if you think about it, he's not a guy that's used to carrying a franchise or, used to being the best player on the team. I'm not sure, on how many, organized or professional team he played for before. But if he was drafted 27th, it means that he was kind of a sleeper. He wasn't a guy that, obviously was highly touted or highly scouted. So I think people just gotta, leverage their expectation with Pascal, because, it would be great if he makes another jump. But at the same time, we got to be happy with what we have with Pascal Siakam. When I talk to people about Siakam, I try to let them know that Siakam at this point, he's already exceeded our expectation. He proved last year that he would be a great second option. He would be a great, Robin, for lack of a better word. But if you expect Siakam to just lead you or, take that, those difficult shots and make the difficult shots on a consistent basis, and at the same time give you the same effort on defense, I think that's a little too early to expect that. I'm hoping, obviously I'm hoping he gets to that point, but I wouldn't be mad if that's his ceiling right now. His ceiling is, averaging 22 to 23 points a game, hustling on the floor, and pretty much, playing great defense. He's a guy that obviously, he made his name based off being that type of player. The hustle player, the guy that runs down the court, rebounds, blocks, and, gets a lot of easy baskets. But now we're asking him to pretty much ISO, do some isolation play. And I'm seeing that he's struggling with that, especially now that teams, kind of know what your favorite moves are. He's struggling with that a little bit. And it could be, the coaching staff could be, partly to blame here. Because I think, obviously, Nick Nurse was a huge part of Siakam's development. So Siakam is Nick Nurse's guy. I think Nick Nurse likes to see him, be aggressive and, take the charge. But at the end of the day, it has to be in you. As a superstar player, as a number one option, you have to want to do this on your own. And I think Siakam sometimes will force it to try to get the score or to try to get the, the points that he thinks are expected of him. And, when he's trying to do that, it hurts the team. And at the same time, in close games, when we need him to kind of take charge, let's say there's, 1 minute left, tie game, the other team is pretty much, scheming to not, let Siakam score. In those pressure type situation, when we need him to kind of take the ball and create something for us, sometimes I'll see that, he'll shy away. Lowry will have the ball, Siakam will be in a corner, and he's not going to be demanding for it. So, some people could say that's coaching, but sometimes, I question whether that's coaching, because in the first quarter, second quarter, you'll see him sometimes wave off guys, right? Like, even in this game, OG Anunoby was playing great. At some point, he was posted up. He was asking for the ball. Siakam told him to just get out the way. And then OG, made some room. And then Siakam tried to force a shot and then just, lost the ball out of bounds. So again, if you're going to be a superstar player, I want to see that level of confidence in the fourth quarter. That's where I want to see it. And it's okay. Like if that's not who he is, that's fine. He proved that he's a great secondary option. And, I'm sure Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, and the general managers, they're seeing, they're watching closely, and they know that, based on what we're seeing, they're going to have to make some move next year. But yeah, again, I don't want to bash Siakam too much because, like I said, let's say that's he reached his ceiling, which it could be likely. It could be very likely that he reached his ceiling. Then I'm not gonna be mad. Like he did better than what we expected, and at this point, I think people just are putting unreasonable expectation. But yeah, and it's partly it's because people are comparing him to his class, right? The people that got paid, that are in his class. So there's him, there's Jason Tatum, there's Buddy Hield, there's Ben Simmons. And it makes sense. You look at these guys, you're like, yo, these guys are putting in work. And Siakam is putting in work as well. But again, some of these guys were highly touted. Some of these guys were, offensively at least, they were always refined. They're guys that, they've been the best player on their team, probably wherever they were. They've been playing basketball in the States, since they were kids. And yeah, so the transition for these guys, to be, I guess, a 20-point scorer all the time, or to find ways to score, when guys are taking away your main moves. The transition for these guys is a lot easier because being offensively gifted, that's in their gene. But Siakam, that's not how he came up. He came up being a hustle player. He came up, doing the dirty work. And obviously he made some huge strides, and he deserves a contract in my opinion. But I think, the fan base, we just need to chill and let's not anoint him to be a Kawhi Leonard. Let's try to, let him develop. But yeah, so basically the Raptors pretty much, Siakam, had a tough time in this game. And I was also questioning what Nick Nurse was doing, putting, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson at the center position. I know that, Ibaka and Gasol were not playing, but I don't know why he can't play Siakam at the 5. Siakam could pretty much guard Jokic. I didn't feel the need to double team Jokic that much because Jokic gets a lot of, great assists. As soon as a guy comes up, he'll, dash it to the other side of the court, find somebody who's wide open at the 3. And to me, I don't like giving guys that much respect before you actually show what you can do one-on-one. So I felt like if Siakam was guarding Jokic would have had problems scoring on Siakam. But, I'm not the coach. Nick Nurse, we're going to trust that Nick Nurse knows what he's doing. But yeah, Lowry had a pretty, bad night as well. He shot 4 for 14 from the field, 2 for 10 from 3. Obviously, he was doing all the other good stuff, taking charges, facilitating, providing assists. But he had a tough night shooting, and that's normal. Lowry is 32 years old. He's getting up there in age. He's gonna need a couple of days of rest. If you think about it, Ibaka and Gasol, they've been getting a lot of rest, and Lowry's the engine of this team. So at some point we're gonna have to give this guy some rest. Van Fleet, obviously we'll need Van Fleet to come back, but that's the nature of the beast. And yeah, the big story for tonight was obviously OG Anunoby. I don't know if you guys saw, but he played 39 minutes. OG was getting steals like they were cheap. He had 7 steals this game. He was disrupting the pick and roll. Obviously Jokic, there's a couple times Jokic was frustrated. OG kept stealing the ball, and then back-to-back dunks, and at some point he even had to do a little reverse dunk because it looked way too similar. Steal the ball, dunk, steal the ball, dunk. So yeah, he was playing pretty dope. He shot 75% from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and OG Anunoby did his thing. He really didn't have any help tonight. Everybody was missing shots. If OG had another, if somebody else on the team was, providing consistency, they probably could have won this game, but who knows? Norman Powell, second game after, being back from his injury, he actually played the most minutes. He played 40 minutes. Norman Powell, he's showing that he's, he's starting to be one of our more reliable guy on offense. Even though, it was an average night, he still had 24 points on 9 for 17 shooting, and 1 for 6 from 3. So, yeah, the Raptors just got beat by a better team tonight. Obviously, they're starting a road trip, a West Coast road trip, that is. So they're going to, they were in Denver tonight. They're going to be in Phoenix tomorrow, Golden State on Thursday, and then they're playing the Sacramento Kings, I think, on Sunday. And then a quick trip to Utah, which is another back-to-back on Monday, and then they'll be back home, Saturday, March 14th. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough road trip. Hopefully, some of the guys get back. We're gonna need Gasol. Gasol not likely, but we're gonna need Ibaka. We're gonna need Van Fleet. Hopefully, some of these guys come back. Yeah. So I guess the last thing I'm gonna touch on is people were kind of complaining, obviously, that Matt Thomas is not getting any minutes. Matt Thomas, obviously he's a great 3-point shooter for us. But I guess my argument against that would be that the Raptors, we're small enough as it is. We got Lowry sometimes. We have Van Fleet. There's a reason some of these guys, sometimes, the Raptors make some of these guys look better than they are. But there's a reason why some of these guys, are undrafted or, get passed on or, weren't playing on any NBA teams last year. Size does matter. I know that it's easy to say that, yeah, he could, his 3-point percentage would make up for it. But, in a game like this against Denver, especially when we didn't have any centers, if you're going to play Matt Thomas, we're going to get destroyed. We already got destroyed on the boards, but it's going to make it even worse. But hey, that's something for, our coach to figure out. But yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. Obviously, I'm going to have to give out a game ball. That's a pretty easy pick. If we have to give a game ball, we'll give it to OG Anunoby, obviously. OG Anunoby played like a beast. Again, I don't think I read his stat line. 32 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 steals. He killed it. OG Anunoby did his thing. Obviously, a lot of guys weren't playing today. So he took it upon himself to obviously compensate. And yeah, he did a good job. But yeah, guys, I'm going to cut it there. You guys could, make sure you leave a like on this video. I would appreciate that. If you have any comments, let me know. I'll hit you back up. And yeah, you can hit me up at Malleyway27 Twitter, Malleyway27 on Instagram. Obviously, we can continue that conversation offline. And yeah, aside from that, thanks for tuning in. And take care of yourself. Peace.